My name's Amy Green, and I've been the athletic director at Northern for 4 months. I came in January and hit the ground running. One of the things that was on my plate, clearly, was this. I had really good leadership in the committee to organize everything. And I think it turned out okay. I want to congratulate the inductees. This is an amazing feat. It's a lifetime achievement. I know I will never make that. So congratulations to you. Not only were you successful in high school, you were also successful beyond high school, which is why you're here. Congratulations, that's an amazing thing. Both Northern High School and our community, and also wherever you have been since then, will remember you. I know that. 4 months, and I'm just as proud of you as if you were my own athlete. So, well done. Again, shout out to Umstead Pines. I think that might be the running theme as well. Wonderful meal, rice and gravy for days. Just saying. But shout out to Jeff Hill, Mike Hall, Steve Loftus, L.A. Howard, for sitting with me and talking me through what it is to help out with this type of ceremony. The amount of work that was put in, this incredible full day from early morning until now, full day, just wonderful. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our sponsors. Some of you are here. Thank you so much. Could not have done it without you. And look forward to reaching out to you next year again. A couple of updates. For those of you that are unaware, Northern is now on a new campus. That happened in the fall. And as we wait for the fields to settle and the building to fully be complete, we are still on Old Northern, as we call it, which most of you might just call Northern. And now there's a new Northern, which we will begin to call just Northern eventually. Finally, just a little bit of info. We are in the process of bringing in a new football coach. We're waiting for the board to approve. And
Mrs. KB said no way.
Well, I will say that during this process, that was a wonderful resource for me. So, thank you, Coach. And hope to see you out at the fields next year. Thank you all.
Thank you. Tonight is all about our inductees. It's all about celebration. It's all about family and hard work, high school, as Coach Green just said, and beyond. And I believe it was Mr. Hall who earlier also talked about just a common theme you're going to hear will be obviously outstanding athletic achievements, but as equally important, character, lifetime accomplishments, family, faith, and leadership. You're going to hear all 6 of our inductees tonight are outstanding leaders in their own right as well. So we will do this in alphabetical order. So apologies to Natashalyn Snipes, but we may be saving the best for last. No offense to the other 5, but all of you are phenomenal. And we are so proud and fortunate that you're here tonight and that we have an opportunity as a family and community to celebrate your achievements. So we'll begin with Craig Herndon. Craig was a member of the class of 1992. And I won't do this, but I could talk about Craig for a long, long time because I've known Craig and his family since he was born. And in fact, we attended the same church, Little Duke's Chapel. I don't know, if you're from Cattsburg, you may know something about Little Duke's Chapel, but you all in here may not know about that. So look it up. Tonight's also about history. Little Duke's Chapel was built before the Big Duke Chapel. What I do remember about church, when Craig was 5 years old, every Sunday, and I was about 18 at the time, and a senior at Northern High School, he would come up, he'd call me Jimmy, and he would kick me as hard as he could in the shins with his cowboy boots and run as far, because I would then probably start to chase him a little bit. Is that a true story, family? True story. I don't think he's changed very much, actually, since that time. But before I continue, I'd like for Craig's family to please stand so we can give them a round of applause. And Craig will introduce whom he would like to once he gets up here. But the Herndon family, friends, congratulations. This is your honor as well. So Craig is the second wrestler to be inducted into the Northern High School Hall of Fame, and also was Northern's second state champion. The first was O.C. Jackson, who's the class of 1988. Craig wrestled for the legendary Sonny Inskip and compiled a 4-year record of 124 and 23. And at the time that he graduated, he had the most victories in school history and the best winning percentage. Craig was and still is the only 3-time regional champion in Northern high school wrestling history. And that's over 50 years. He's the only 3-time regional champion that we've had. He finished 4th in the state at 130 pounds. His junior year, he was the Northern High School team MVP, PAC-6 Wrestler of the Year, and 4A state champion wrestler his senior year in the 135-pound weight class. And the two teams, his junior and senior year, that he captained were two of the most successful teams in Northern history. Craig also, you can look at him, he's a handsome devil. He was a member of the Northern Knights Court his junior and senior year. He used to drive his mom crazy because he was a handsome guy. Back then he had a full head of blonde hair, but not quite so much today. I can't talk, but I wasn't on the Northern Knights Court. And rumor has it, he also, even while in high school, from time to time, helped keep the athletic fields cut. Craig was an outstanding wrestler, extremely hardworking, a fantastic leader, and also just a lot of fun to have around on the team. He kept things light, but he also he held himself and the entire team accountable during his 4-year career at Northern. Post-high school, Craig earned a degree in construction management at East Carolina University, which led to a very successful career for C.T. Wilson. One of the first important jobs he had as a superintendent was he was in charge of building the sanctuary at Mount Sylvan United Methodist Church. And guess who was in charge of that as far as a church trustee? The late, great, legendary Jim Armstrong. That shows you the threads that run through the Northern community and how we are a family and how these connections run deep. Craig has now advanced to the role of Vice President of Field Operations for C.T. Wilson, where he supervises numerous employees ranging from skilled laborers to senior superintendents. In addition to being, of course, very proud of his family, Craig is also a proud member of the North Durham Summit Church, where he spends every Sunday helping with greeting the parishioners, helping people find their seats, with the offering, and with communion. It is my great, great, great pleasure to induct this year into the Northern High School Hall of Fame class of 2024, Mr. Craig Herndon.
Thank you, Jimmy.
No problem.
First of all, I need to lean
Lean
in.
in.
Lean in.
There you go.
I have difficulty following instructions sometimes, as Coach Key would.
I can attest to that.
Yes, you can. First, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my mom and dad, for all their support. My beautiful wife, for all that she's done for supporting me and our kids. My daughters, for allowing me to work the hours that I work and still be active in their lives, and them not criticize me for being a workaholic. Which I also want to thank C.C. Fisher, who I would imagine is going to be Riverside's first Hall of Fame individual, as for nominating me, and all his hard work of writing some lovely things about me that I wouldn't have been able to say myself. So thank you, CC, for that. And Chuck McLean, I also want to thank him for being such a wonderful example to me as a father and a leader in the community, for doing all the great things that he does, like serving the rescue mission. I know most of y'all know Chuck McLean. If it's not from cooking for you, it's at least dropping off boxes from UPS back in the day. But like Coach Key said, Sonny and Skip was a huge impact on my life. Uplifting the coaches and teachers that have been in my life, who took time from their families to raise me up and hold me accountable, and just athletics in general, the support that you guys here are doing. It's not just sports. You're raising leaders and giving people a chance to hold those accountable, which is awesome, because we know it wasn't for the pay, it was for the love of the impact and the commitment to your team, and raising young people up to be leaders. I had a tremendous amount of people that influenced my life. Coach Key, for sure. Sonny and Skip. Coach Browning, thank you for letting me cut the grass on the field when I didn't have to dress out for wrestling. Most people might get fired for that these days, but that was when things were different. So, but you're still not going to, it's no different than making an impact on folks' lives. By pouring into them, and athletics, it just it's not about the win, it's about the dedication and bringing the best out of people. Let's see if I missed something. I think that's it.
Thank you, Craig. And Craig, and to you and your family, congratulations. Well deserved and well earned. So we go from 1992, which was a long time ago. How old are you now? 50? Craig has hit 50, the big 50. Well, I know for some of us in here that's not that old, but if you've known someone since they were a baby, it's kind of hard to believe he's 50. But we're going to now go back in time a little bit. That's another wonderful thing about this evening. We're going to go back in time to 1979 and see Lyon, Mr. Clarence Lyon. So before I even get into all his accolades, and Clarence and I had a chance to talk on the phone a couple of weeks ago. I forget exactly when it was, but we both like to talk, so I think we talked for a good hour. But I started off by sharing with him, and this is sincere. So he is a year ahead of me in school. And Northern was a really large high school back then. I forget exactly how many students, but close to 2,000, I would think. No, 15, 14, 15? Okay, Coach Brown, he says 1,500. felt like 2000 when you're running around and you're a student. Clarence was an outstanding football player, and everyone in the school knew that, and that's one of the reasons he's being inducted tonight. But what I remember most about Clarence, being a year ahead of me, is how he treated everyone within that school. He treated everyone like a friend. He treated everyone like an equal. He treated everyone like they were special. He didn't care if you were the superstar on the football or basketball team, or if you were somebody who who wasn't very athletic. He just treated everyone. He had such a positive, warm spirit about him, and I'll never forget that. And seeing him here again, and Coach Brownie's nodding, yes, he's agreeing with me, and seeing Clarence here tonight with his family, there's no doubt that he hasn't changed a bit either. And that's another common theme. Craig has a wonderful spirit, so does Clarence. I think this would be an appropriate time also if I could have Clarence and his family please stand so we can give them a nice round of applause. And he will introduce them in a little bit. So Clarence started playing football in the 4th grade at Walltown. And so you're what, 9, 10 years old. So that was just a few years ago. And the family moved to the northern Durham community in 1969. And he played at Carrington, and he also played for Coach Browning at Northern. Clarence was legendary even back then for his off-season workout regimes. So I wonder if this resonates with anyone in the room. He used to eat or drink a lot of raw eggs. Does that remind you of a movie or anybody? That's kind of what we thought we were supposed to do back in the 70s. But he would also run from Old Farm to Northgate and back every day. And then along the way, now I'm not that big of a guy. Clarence is a big man. He would slap the telephone poles with his forearms. Now I promise you, a lot of linemen felt that later on during football games. Clarence gave a lot of credit to all of his teammates, but he has especially mentioned to me Amos Wilson, another phenomenal football player, Roger Rigsby, another phenomenal football player, and Big Isaac Poole. Now, I'm calling him Big Isaac Poole because when I wrestled, Isaac was our heavyweight. And those were 4 tough dudes. Am I right, Coach Browning? Those 4, when they hung out together, I'm sure people watched their steps a little bit. So as I said, Clarence was a linebacker at Northern and extremely successful and helped the team become successful. He was all conference and all region for 3 years. Now back then, if you started for the Northern High School football team way back in 1979 as a sophomore, you were pretty special. He was all state as a senior, and he also played in the North-South All-Star game, and he was rated in the top 50 of all North Carolina high school football players at the conclusion of his senior year. And this is what kind of blows me away in 1979. I guess it was the raw eggs. But he was 6'2", 225 pounds, and he ran a 4.48 40. Now, even today, that is extremely impressive. And that was, just a few years ago. He had numerous great plays. Probably Coach Browning, again, and Coach Osborne and others could talk for hours about his impact on the field. But 2 in particular, and they resonated with me because, I was at Northern at this time, and I kind of remember this. He ran back an interception for 65 yards in one of the games. But also, Person High School had a guy named Jack Cameron who went on to play in the NFL, who was also extremely fast. And Clarence ran him down. A linebacker, 220-pound man ran down a running back in 1979. Another very proud memory for Clarence was while he was recruited by many people, one special letter he received was from Bear Bryant at Alabama. Not many people can say that. Clarence, who gives credit to everyone but himself, just like Craig previously, wanted me to give a shout out, and he may talk all he would like about these gentlemen as well, but to Coach Ken Browning, Coach Lenny Wren, and Coach Jerry Krasicki. That's right, Coach Wren. After Northern, Clarence played a year at Fork Union Military Academy to prepare for college. And the thing that stood out to me most about that, Mr. Lyon, is that you were playing with future college and NFL players. and they voted you captain of that football team. Now that says something about leadership right there. A great deal about Clarence's leadership abilities. He went on to Western Carolina, where he played for Bob Waters. Started as a freshman and a sophomore, led the team in tackles, played extremely well, but unfortunately a severe ankle injury during his junior season slowed down his football career. But again, as we were talking, and I think Coach Green hit on this, rather than, I guess, say, woe is me, he relied on his family, his faith, and all he had learned as a football player and picked himself back up. And from afterwards, after he graduated from Western Carolina, became an extremely successful executive in finance and the insurance industry. It led him to be able to travel all over the world, and it gave him an opportunity to win many awards, and it gave him an opportunity to serve a lot of people as well. But another special thing I'd like to share with you, he also was called to become a pastor. And in addition to his worldly job, he's been a pastor now for the past 20 years. And I can't tell you how much he beamed, just like Craig did, about how proud he was of his children. And I know Noel and CJ are here tonight to support their dad. So, congratulations to the entire family and to Mr. Clarence Lyon, and I now induct you into the 2024 Northern High School Hall of Fame. Mr. Clarence Lyon.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Greetings to the whole Hall of Fame team. I'll put it that way. It's a great honor to be able to stand before you to give a testament to what I think my family, coach, my teammates, Ross, guys that, played with me, I thank the Lord for being able to play ball. It helped me understand that you do get kicked around, you get knocked down, you got to get up, but you also have to have a desire to please people, and I think when someone's coaching you, what I've learned is that if you like your coach, it's almost like your job. If you like your job, you work harder, right? But when you like your coach that is coaching you and showing you things about the game, you appreciate him, and it's like a father thing. I think most of you all know Coach Browning. My dad, he's gone on to glory, but he was a trucker, a driver, and he wasn't home much, but football was something that gave me a place of peace. I could get out there and I could just work out and hit people and like it. I'm going to be honest with you. This is me. Coach. If Coach Brown had told me or Amos to go run into the wall, we go. So, that's the kind of mindset I had about life. Is that, he's not going to outwork me. He's not going to outpush me. He's not going to serve, better than I can. And I attribute that to just seeing my father work hours, on end. I would go work with him. And I was a young cat then. I was strong in high school. And he could work circles around me. And he never complained. And I never understood that. It's easy to complain when things aren't going your way. It's easy to give up when things aren't what you want them to be. But, Coach Browning would always give us not the cursing speech that coaches give you and I went through, but he would just tell you to go out there and do your job. And I'll never forget that Coach West, he said, if you just keep them off Clarence, he'll tackle the football. So my whole thing was getting to the ball. Whatever I got to do to get to the ball, that's what I'm going to do. If you're in front of me, it won't be for long. I'm going to get there. And that's kind of, I looked at life the same way. My sister Jackie and her husband Gene are with me tonight, Ross Thomas, his wife. But those two sitting there, my children, just like my brother here before me, the children gave me the amount of power, I'll say that, or the catalyst to me pushing myself in anything that I did back before, after college. But the players that I played with in school, the guys that were with me, we worked out, you say legendary. I don't know if it's legendary, but, I knew if I ran a lot, I wouldn't get tired. I knew if I lifted a lot, nobody would be stronger than me on the field. I knew things had to work a certain way. If somebody, and I must admit, I was not always a Christian. And I say that because to play football, you have to have a killer spirit. I mean, if you come out and you're guessing this is for you, I'm going to prove that it's not. That's how I looked at it. If you want to play, we're going to play. But we would put the pads on. I remember like yesterday. We would put the pads on, Jim, and we would see people just change their whole disposition about playing ball. Like, I'm not going to do this. And that's how it is for me in life. When I got my insurance license, and I'll be short because we love to talk. But when I got my insurance license, someone said, man, you can't sell insurance in Reedsville. Man, you can't sell insurance in Greensboro. Man, you can't sell insurance in Sanford. Man, you can't sell insurance there. Let me tell you something. When they said can't, that's when I went to work. It's just like when they say you can't run under 4.5. Really? At 225? Really? But I attribute all that I've done, and I give God the glory. All that I've done has come to one thing about me. I had to experience the love of the Lord so that I could be who I am now. All the things that I have done, all the awards, all the hurt people we hurt people. Did we not, Coach? I hurt people. We hurt people. We play. We didn't have that duck your head to the side, get off the quarterback. No, we crushed you. And I remember one time, and I've got to sit down. We played Chapel Hill. It was Chapel Hill Tigers. I remember that. They had 4 quarterbacks. At the end of the game, the wide receiver was playing. Quarterback. So it's, and I know, and I played with some Hall of Famers. I played with Tiger Green, played with the Green Bay Packers. Steve Hamilton has a Super Bowl ring. He played with me at Fork Union. And the reason they chose me for the captain, this is kind of sad, but it's true. They had something called demerits at Fork Union. So a demerit was equal to walking 78 minutes on a pad, concrete pad, with your boots on, shoulder packs on, weighted down about 45 pounds. And I had, it's crazy, I told you about that. I had 138 demerits. 140, you get kicked out. I must have walked from here to D.C. It was crazy. And I'm going to sit down now, but those two people, stand up, Noel and CJ. Stand up for me. That's my heart. And when he was talking about his daughters, I understood what he was saying, Children, and what you do for them and being an example. And that's what I love talking to this man. I fell in love with Jim on the phone. He said, Clarence, listen to me, man, I can't talk too long. I got 2 grandchildren. I got to get away from them. Please, we can't talk too long, Clarence. And Jim was going. I was like, I said, what about your grands? But, when you love the Lord and you love life and you appreciate the people that are in your life. I'm asking you to stand up, Coach Brown. If you will, stand up, Coach Brown. I played for a lot of coaches, but I never played for one that had a heart like his. Not one. So when you say bring him back, that's my vote, Coach. But I thank you all for coming and celebrating this with me and my family. It's an honor, and I just hope that I could continue to walk by faith in these last days of my life so that people can recognize that you're supposed to love one another. The guy Jim said about loving people, I love people. I have never met anyone I don't like. Not really. But if we have a problem, we can solve it. But thank you so much for inducting me. And to the other inductees, I know what it took to get here. You had to push your tail off to get here. You had to work beyond being worked out. You had to go beyond practice. You had to go beyond normal drills. You had to do some crazy things. And I'll sit down on this. No one in this room, except that young fellow over there, was able to hang with me in running. Nobody. And so in saying that, please keep my family, this family, in prayer. You know, please do that. And thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate you, all of you. I do. Thank you. Oh, no.
Thank you, Clarence. And again, one of the things I love about this and why I'm probably the luckiest guy in the room is I knew Clarence in 1979. I knew Craig in 1992. Clarence, 225. Craig, 135. Two of the toughest people you'll ever want to be around. I mean, state champion, top 50. That's what this is all about. And then you heard their post-high school stories as well. So this is just exciting for me and great history as well. And along that same vein, our next inductee is Coach Rene Osborne, class of 1971. And I happen to know him too because he was a teacher at Northern High School and a coach when I was a student there, which is really a shame since he looks younger than I do today. Whew, I've got to work on that a little bit. Get out and need to run a little bit more. But another common theme. Congratulations, Coach, first and foremost. I'm going to be calling you Coach tonight because that's how I was raised, okay? Coach Osborne was another outstanding athlete at Northern High School, but he was a four-sport athlete, member of the class of 1971. He played JV basketball for a year, ran track for 2 years. In track, he was a member of a second and fourth place finish in the conference tournament. Decided he was a little bit tired of track and wanted to play baseball, so played baseball his senior year, first time he played in his career at Northern, and was voted all-conference and all-region third base. Obviously an outstanding all-round athlete. But it was football where he really excelled. He was a very successful running back and kicker. Did you play defense as well? They wouldn't let you because you were the kicker. Okay. He led the district in scoring his junior year because he scored a lot of touchdowns, and because he scored the touchdowns, he kicked a lot of extra points, and he kicked a few field goals as well. He was named All-City County, All-Conference, All-District, and named to the Herald Sun All-Area team. This was his junior year. Now, his senior year, his season started out equally impressive. He was, again, leading the entire area in scoring as a prolific touchdown-scoring running back and the kicker on the team. Unfortunately, he broke his ankle, though, during the 5th game of the year. And did you say that was against Garner? Yeah, the Northern's had a lot of interesting battles against Garner over the years, but they also won a lot of those games, too. Even so, and this is extremely impressive to me. I mean, every single person tonight is so impressive. Think about this. Think about what I'm getting ready to tell you. So he broke his ankle in the 5th game of the year, and his season was over. He still was named honorable mention All-City County, honorable mention All-Conference, honorable mention All-East, and honorable mention All-Area by the Raleigh News and Observer. Now, for someone to only play 5 games and to be recognized for that, they were basically telling everyone, hey, if this guy hadn't gotten hurt, he would have been everything for that particular school year. Now, in addition, however, to being a 4-sport athlete, very well-rounded, a Renaissance man, if you will, he was in the FCA, student government, senior class play, concert choir. Oh, by the way, he was voted most friendliest by a senior class as for, the superlatives. He will come tell you a lot more about himself and whomever he would like to recognize, but he also wanted me to give a little special shout out to coaches Roland Miller and Curtis Young for the impact they both had on his life. And interestingly enough, they both had on mine as well. Mr. Miller as a PE teacher when I was a young principal. I think, just like with all of our other inductees, however, and I know Coach Osborne, he will tell you this in just a minute, none of our inductees tonight did this on their own. They had a lot of support, teachers, coaches, family. So I would like to ask Coach Osborne's entire family and those who are here to support him tonight to please stand so we can give them a nice round of applause. So after graduating from Northern, he attended UNC Chapel Hill. And after that, he came back to Northern. And he taught English. And again, as a lot of us did back in those days, he coached football, basketball, track and field, and tennis. Coach Green, you looking for a tennis coach? Okay. He also coached basketball, I believe, for a total of 6 years at Shawan College. Is that correct? So he was a college coach as well. After that, he got into administration and became an athletic director and then enjoyed 2 successful principalships. He was the principal of Talbot, am I pronouncing that correctly? Talbot Elementary School in Talbot, Tennessee, and as the principal for Bluestone High School in Skipwith near Clarksville, Virginia. Again, leadership. Everyone that we've inducted so far tonight, you've heard about service, you've heard about leadership. In addition to his illustrious career as an educator, Coach Osborne has been very active in his church and even runs a faith-based basketball camp in Franklin, Tennessee. One of the finest all-around athletes Northern High School ever produced. This year's 3rd inductee into the class of the Hall of Fame class of 2024, Coach Rene Osborne.
I'd like to thank Jimmy for placing me right after Clarence. And Clarence, I'm really miffed that you chose Jerry Krasicki over me. I'll see you afterwards. Okay. I'm not afraid of you. You won't hit an old man. I'm very proud to be here tonight as this great tradition of recognizing excellence, and I'm proud to be here, a part of all these young men and women, because they're fantastic people, and I just feel honored to be in the group. So thank you for that. I look at and I researched all of you, and I found out about you, and there's some impressive people in this group. So thank you. I want to thank the Hall of Fame for selecting me for this. It's an honor. I meet up with sports. I'll just tell you right off the top. It's all I've ever wanted to do. It's Kenny Browning's fault. I'll get to you in a second, Coach. I really did. I just wanted to play ball. I wanted to coach. I just wanted to be around it. And I think there's no doubt, I fought this, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? And so I think he answered me about 1995 in that area. And he said, I want you to do what you've been doing, and I want you to do it better, and I want you to have a purpose in it. And so from about 95 on, I kind of turned it a little bit. I mean, I wasn't a bad person or anything, but I could do a lot better. And that's when I started thinking, okay, I can use coaching as a witness and a ministry. I might not be at church, but this is my ministry right here. And I believe everybody is chosen to be a leader and have a ministry. I want a special thanks to my mom and dad. When Tammy and Tammy, my wife over there, I hope you'll say hello to her tonight, and I'll get to her in a second. But I will. I'll be in good stead tonight. Okay, all right. So I wanted to thank my mom and dad because when you think about it, I started playing 3 sports in the 5th and 6th grade. Carrington, I played 4 sports for 3 years, and then Northern 3 sports the first year, and then after that I could drive. But the thing about it is all those times that they took me to practice, they picked me up at practice, they took me to do this, that, and those just fundraisers that never end, those things. And they would come get me and they would take me back. And I didn't realize, I didn't value my parents until I had to do it. And then, they've always said, your parents, they get smarter and smarter as you get older and older. And that's the truth. So I recognize the value that my parents, hauling me back and forth, and they did it just for me. And so I learned that with our children. And so they've passed on from here now, and they're looking down and they're probably shaking their heads. But, Mom and Dad, thank you. I just thank God blessed me with great parents. I want to, now, we're going to get to the Browning years. Don't say that. So, no, Kenny, we moved. I always call us the Sparta Road boys. We moved to Sparta Road area in, I think it was December of '59. Kenny, that was AD, Kenny, we soon met the Brownings over there. Now, I had 2 sisters and me, and then they had like 6 kids, and all of them were big kids, and they were older than us, So we had a snowball fight, and you can imagine who won that battle. But I can't right away. Coach Browning's family, they were farmers, and I've never seen a family work the way they did. I mean, football was joy to him. It was easy. I asked him when he was the second year at Carolina. I don't know if you remember this or not. I was at Chuan for my second year, I think. You were at Carolina first year. And I called him up and was talking to him and said, well, how's it going? And I said, it's hard work, isn't it? And he said, yeah, it's hard, but it's a lot easier than farming. So, it was a joy and easy for him to do. But I used to go down there every day. And I was a dumb kid. I'd go down there every day and I'd work with them. And of course, I bit every day. It was like, okay, Rene, and Eddie most of the time was the one that did it. Okay, Rene, we're going to play basketball after we get through working. When was through working? I'd go down there every day and we would feed the hogs, pick up rocks, sucker corn, and anything else that's torture to mankind. But I'd go home about 3 o'clock. Sometimes Miss Browning sent me home because we all got in trouble. But I'd go home every day and no ball. So finally, Lucy and Charlie Brown, that she holds the ball and then he comes and kicks it and she yanks the ball. Well, that was me with them. Oh yeah, we're gonna play football today, Rene. That's all they had today. All they had to say was, we're gonna play. And I was in. I don't care what we had to do, stack hay or whatever. I would do it. So anyways, what my point is, it sounds funny, but I learned one thing, what hard work is, by being with the Brownings. And I also learned, one, what family was, because I watched them, and I've got a good family. I had my sisters were great. We had a strong family. But I watched the Brownings and their family, they were so good. And not only working, though, but they taught me, no, they didn't taught me, they beat me into being tough, is what they did. That was teaching. That was teaching. But I will say this about Coach Browning, is when Eddie and Tommy and the forces of evil were against me, Kenny would come and back me up. So, and then it all evened out right there. So, my mother and sisters were my biggest fans there for the football years. I can't tell, I had such a great family. My mom was just something. Every Friday, and a lot of you had this, after when we had a home football game, I'd go home and she had my pregame meal ready for me, and then I'd eat and then go back to Northern. And my mom was such a great lady, and my dad too. They were hard workers. My sisters were great supporters. They were all behind me, everything I did. Monty, I think over the years, has been my biggest supporter. And Monty over there, raise your hands, Monty. She'll cry. She'll be. But Monty, I'm the reason I'm here right now, because Monty I think she was upset that I wasn't in the Hall of Fame. She said, you need to be in the Hall of Fame. And I said, well, it's not my fault, But she nominated me, and here I am. So, Monty, I love you and thank you. I appreciate it. Lastly, I want to talk about some of my coaches. Roland Miller taught us to be tough, but he taught us to have class while we were playing. And I love that about Roland Miller. Roland Miller was one of the finest men I've ever known. And I don't know how many of you know Roland or not. Well, he's passed away, but one of the finest men I've ever known. By the way, I forgot to mention, Wayne Jordan's here. Wayne was on the other side of me, and he heard that the policy was to beat Rene into being tough, and he joined in on it. So, Wayne, raise your hand over there. I'm going to recognize you. I'll say this. You know how I got to hurry up, I know. You know, when you grow up beside somebody, and Irby came home one day with my old sister, and he said, you know, you ought to go to Wayne. He's a good dentist. I said, Wayne Jordan, I'm not letting him touch me. And so, anyways, I'm going to tell you this, and the honest truth, he is the best dentist that I ever went to. He really was. Really good guy. And Wayne, thank you for what you did. Coach Browning, thank you for what you did. And I just can't talk. I was so lucky to be surrounded by such good people. Coach Young, I know some of you don't like Coach Young, but Coach Young, my mom did not like him, I'll tell you that right now. But I loved him because he was more like the Brownies as far as tough. You know, he was tough on us. He made us tough. But the one thing he did do, he made us realize what a team is. Yes. And so I had to mention him tonight. How many of you actually went to Northern in here? I want to see. Okay. How many of you remember Mr. Poe? I bet you love Mr. Poe and just everything he did, right? Mr. Poe, and I could tell one story about him, but I'm going to try to hurry up. Mr. Poe, I think, taught me how to be, you can be tough on people as long as you're fair. You got to be fair. And I think he taught that to us, and I could talk on and on. I am going to say this. What was the most dreaded sign at Northern High School? Do you remember? Has to do with Mr. Poe. I'm going to do it to Clarence. No, I'm going to do it to Coakley, so I'm going to do it too. Come here again. And you better be getting there too.
Yeah, I remember that.
I didn't get it as a student. I got it as a coach one day, Clarence. He was doing this to me, and I went, oh my God, what did I do? And here I am, an adult male, I'm going. Mr. Poe was awesome. Another great leader. My teammates, we were loaded. I was telling Jason, where are you, Jason? I was telling Jason before that we weren't loaded like them because we were 3A back then, but we were loaded my senior year. And I just can't tell you. I'm not going to mention them because I'm going to cut it. But the line and the athletes we had on that team were phenomenal. And it was a pure joy to be a Northern Knight back then. It was a good time to be in the wing T offense if you were a halfback and a kicker because we scored a lot of points. But we were a true team. We went all the way, Jason, we went all the way to the Eastern Championship and missed our 2 extra points and lost to 71st. Marvin Powell was playing that day. You remember Marvin Powell? First round pick from USC, Southern Cal. He was playing that game. Gary Pellin played at Duke. I wasn't going to mention that. But if we had made our extra points, we would have tied. And back then, a tie, the team with the most yardage won the ball game. We had more yardage. If we'd kicked us 2 extra points, I'd be standing here today, Eastern champs. They didn't have a state champ back then because, Kenny, do you remember why I didn't have a state champion back then, Eastern and West? Okay, so that was the answer right there. So they divided us up, so we couldn't have been state champs, but we could have been Eastern champs, and that was a disappointment. I've got so many people in here that I could. Coco, I coached with Scott Coakley. Kent Moore has been a supportive friend all my life, just about 6th grade on. He even went to UNC and we roomed together one year. Great friend. Malbert Smith. I don't know how many of you know Malbert Smith, but phenomenal guy. You need to get to. Have any of you ever heard of Lexile, the Lexile school on your kids? They're reading Lexile. That's the man that created it over there. And so he's very, very sharp guy. Metametrics is his company. Mally, I'll take the pay afterwards. But he was another one like a brother to me. And I'll tell you what Malbert taught me. He taught me that positivity is productive and contagious. We would leave the YMCA playing basketball, and we'd go out, and I'd say, "Okay, Mally, I'll see you later. Have a good day." And invariably he would say, "Rene, make it a great day." And that is so true. My son, Caleb, He did some taping of my games last year, showed me the new world of technology. You know, I'm an old guy, so it takes a while. Anna, my daughter over there, she's supportive, asked about my games and what we've been doing. Jordan Ladybug, my Down syndrome child over there, look at that. I ought to ask her to stand up. But anyway, she has probably been to more games and practices than the rest of them combined. Last thoughts. Kenny asked me to be JV basketball coach my second year at Northern. And I said, yeah, I played basketball before. I can do that. And Kevin Billerman was head coach. And Kevin taught me well as far as, some basic things, man defense and the offense. We ran a shuffle type offense back then. But anyways, we were 20-2 that year, won the championship. And I learned some lessons on that one. But the first thing, it was the best of times and the worst of times, what Dickens wrote. And and I don't know if you know this kid, his name was Hank Cotton. And Hank was my starting point guard, a beautiful human being. I loved his smile. The team loved him. And unfortunately, one day, I don't know the whole story, but evidently he may have cut somebody off driving, and that person felt like it was enough he shot him and killed him. And we just cried and cried and cried. We went and Hank was an African-American kid, and just, I can't tell you how great that kid was. So Kenny knew him. We went to the church that day, and I will never forget, everybody was sad, and there were a lot of tears, but there was a celebration of joy. And I'll never forget that. That taught me right then and there. And I was a Christian then, but, I've been a Christian a long time, but it wasn't always good. Mm-hmm. And I learned then that, yes, there's joy in death. It's sad, but there's joy in death. I want to juxtapose this. There was an old lady in Tennessee, older lady. She had just turned 100, celebrating her 100th birthday. She was in a small town. Tennessee's a lot of small towns, and they get together, celebrate. And so they were going to celebrate her 100th birthday. And so they got the local news media there, and they were asking her questions. She was just going over her life, and here's the way it was in the 20s and 30s, and just following up. Towards the end, one reporter looked at her and said, Miss Gracie, now you've been alive 100 years. Give us one thing. Just describe 100 years as succinctly as you can. And she looked right at him, stared him in the eyes, and said, it goes so quickly. It goes so quickly. And I see a lot of you here, older adults tonight, like me, that it does go quickly, doesn't it? You remember when your kids were born and when they were in school, and now all of a sudden they're in college or they're getting married? It goes quickly. Life lessons, real quick, through Northern and as a coach there. And a lot of you will recognize some of these. You can be very tough, going back to Mr. Poe, on people or as a leader, as long as you're fair. You can be tough. It takes hard work to reach your goals. I'll say this because this is me. I was first-year basketball. Great players make great coaches. And that would also work in business or any organization. You've got great people. You can do it. Treat others as you would have them treat you. Guys, it works. It works with all people, all ages, whatever they are. It works. And it will come back to you more than who knows. Unfortunately, the good sometimes die young. And lastly, life goes quickly. Make the most of it, and be sure you're ready for that day when your last second clicks by. Thank you very much.
Well, as you can see, again, it's just been a phenomenal night. And as Jeff Hill just said to me, he said, what an amazing class. Hope you don't mind me sharing that, Jeff. This is an amazing class. And it's going to continue to be amazing. Because now we have Jason Peace, the class of 1995. Let's give Jason a huge round of applause. Raise your hand if you've ever seen Jason play football. I bet, look at that. Right now, raise your hand if you've ever seen him play for Northern and Carolina. There you go. Okay, that's well over half the room right there, Coach. Well over half the room. So, but it didn't start at Northern High School. That's why I like to come early. I pick up little tidbits here and there. Jason's first coach was his father, and he coached the Holt Colts. And they were a dominating team, and the Holt Colts were, I don't know if we still have the Holt Colts, but the Holt Colts were legendary, and rumor has it even C.C. Fisher played for the Holt Colts. But he was not the quarterback. C.C. was not the quarterback. But was that your first team, the Holt Colts? Okay, so, and Dad was the very first coach. I would like Jason and his family to please stand so we can acknowledge them and congratulate them on this well-deserved award. Okay, so buckle up, and I apologize if I missed something because there's like books and books and books of wonderful, unbelievable information about this young man. So first and foremost, Jason was the quarterback for the 1993 4A state championship team. That was his junior year, and he was undoubtedly the leader of that team, and that was a phenomenal team. Not only did they win the North Carolina 4A high school state championship, but at the end of the season, they were ranked the ninth best high school football team in the entire United States of America by USA Today. Now, there are thousands and thousands of high school football teams across this country, and they were ranked number 9, led by quarterback Jason Peace. Jason was named the offensive most outstanding player for the 1993 state championship game. And talking to Coach Browning, he actually wasn't 100%. Had gotten injured in an earlier game, but they did the best they could to take care of him. And even playing injured, most outstanding player of that game, and set a record for the most touchdown passes. I think it tied the record, but still, the record for the most touchdown passes ever thrown in the state championship final. Even prior to that, he led Northern to 3 consecutive regular season undefeated records, 2 regional finals, and the aforementioned state championship for the 93-94 school year. Now, again, as the quarterback, what do they say? That's the CEO of the team. At least that's what they talk about in the NFL. Clearly, phenomenal players, just like Sherrod and many, many, many other players on those teams. But Jason was the leader. Again, please listen to what I'm getting ready to tell you. He was a parade All-American, the North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, starting quarterback for the Shrine Bowl team his senior year. Now that right there, I mean, that's almost like he should be in the High School Athletic Hall of Fame, not just the Northern High School Athletic Hall of Fame. And I mean that, and maybe a lot of us here need to start pushing that. I'm going to say that one more time. Parade All-American, North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, and starting quarterback for the Shrine Bowl. I failed to mention that in that championship game, Northern won 39-6, and at that time, that was the largest margin of victory ever in a high school championship final contest. Now, obviously, in addition to those unbelievable national awards, Jason was selected to multiple, you name it, every all-conference and all-state team you can imagine. And oh, by the way, he was a 4-year letterman and all-conference performer in basketball as well. I mean, wow. Okay? Wow. Yeah. As Jeff Hill just said, this is a phenomenal class, and we still have 2 more amazing people to induct as well. Jason won a scholarship to UNC Chapel Hill, 4-year starter, 4-year letterman, and was voted the Art Wiener Award his senior year as the most outstanding wide receiver on that team. And luckily, my wife and I had season tickets way back then, and I think we saw all those home games. That was a long time ago, though. Post-graduation, Jason also has done extremely well. He served as a football coach at Neal Middle School back in the day and at Northern High School. Earned his master's in school social work from UNC Chapel Hill in 2011 and served his community, and this touches my heart because I'm a retired educator. But for nearly 20 years, he's been working with the families of families and their children, families with special needs, as a licensed clinical social worker. Now, that takes a special heart, and that's truly giving back, and that's all about leadership as well. And now, since 2020, and I'm so proud of this because everybody knows about Meals on Wheels. It's one of the most important nonprofits we have, period, bar none. And probably all of us have been touched by it in some way as a family at some point in our lives. Jason Peace has proudly served as the executive director for Meals on Wheels since 2020. And oh, by the way, he had to take over right in the midst of COVID. Wow. Think about that. And I actually was doing my research and homework too, Coach Osborne. And not only are we so proud because you're doing that job, but you're doing it at such an exceptional high level. And that truly is God's work. So I hope he'll talk a lot because, again, I could go on and on and on. But without further ado, I think he's ready for me to stop. I would love to induct into the class of 2024 Hall of Fame, Northern High School, Mr. Jason Peace.
No, man, I'm gonna sit this ring right here. I'm gonna try to lean into this mic so you guys can hear me. So I'll do my best. Can't hear me? Yeah. You can't hear me? All right, I'll try to talk a little louder if you can. Nah, don't do that no more. So let me just congratulate the other inductees tonight. I know it's a long time coming, and I know it wasn't easy work, so I just want to congratulate you guys on your night as well. I also want to say thank you to the Hall of Fame Association for actually voting us in and inducting us tonight, so thank you for that. I'm going to have a ton, I think it's going to be a ton of thank yous, so if you guys can just bear with me for a moment, we'll get through those. But I want to start off with my wife and kids, my beautiful wife, Maisha, right here holding our son, Jackson, who this is the longest he's ever sat through anything. And then with my daughter, my beautiful daughter over there, Mila. If you can raise your hand, baby. Where you at? Raise your hand, girl. There you go. All right, there she go. All right, that's my babies. And so after that, I just want to thank my mom, my dad, and my sister. They were there, obviously, through the high school years. Like Rene said, getting me back and forth to practice, being my biggest supporters at the games, and just being there with me throughout. So just want to say thank you to you guys as well. And then I have some extended family as well with my aunts and uncles, and there you go. So my Uncle Herman, I know he's taking me to some practices. And hold on, after I get to Uncle Herman. So you see that lady beside him? So that's my Aunt Faye. So my mom went out of town, what year was it? About my sophomore year? So I had to be like 15, 16 years old, right? So my mom went out of town to Atlanta to work for the summer, and my uncle had to get me back and forth to practice. Right, to all the way across town, back to North. So he did that. We had some talks. Thank you for that. But I cut up one time, and I didn't really tell the truth. And my aunt found out, right? And she spanked me. And I was like 15 or 16, and I was like, ouch. But I was embarrassed more than anything, but I bring that up to say, throughout my life, I've had different individuals hold me accountable for different things. And you don't really realize it at the time, but as you continue to grow and mature, you realize just how important that accountability was. So thank you for that. All right. So there's a couple of other folks that I definitely want to make sure I acknowledge. CC, if he's still here, thank you, sir. So CC and I grew up in Old Farm. We played, there you go. So we grew up in Old Farm together. We played on the same football team as youngsters. We went to high school together, went to college together. But I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for CC. So CC is the one who actually put in the application for me. CC tracked me down and said, hey, I need to talk to you. So he was the one that like put all my bio together. And even when he was reading it off to me, I was like, I didn't even realize I did all that. So CC, thank you so much for just taking the time and the effort to do that, because you didn't have to do it. And I hope to see you up here one day very soon, my friend. Thank you. So I also want to say thank Coach Browning, where he's at. So I'm gonna pause on Coach Browning for 1 second, because he was half of this equation. So a lot of people don't know, I never really wanted to go play quarterback at Northern. I didn't. I wanted to go to Hillside and play basketball. Because I don't know if everybody remembers just how powerful Hillside's basketball team was during that time, but I wanted to be a part of that. And it's two reasons why I'm not. My late grandmother, Osha McMillan Brown, would not let me stay with her and go to Hillside. And she literally stays 4 blocks from the old Hillside. She would not let me stay. So I couldn't go. But then I first met Coach Browning when I was probably leaving Carrington, about to come over to Northern. And he came over, met with the team, met with certain players. And so that was my first introduction to Coach Browning. But all of you guys have talked about like how wonderful of a heart he has, which is true. How much of a hard worker he is, which is, no, it's no buts, which is true. But I don't, that's the but. That's the but. You got it. But what people don't give him enough credit for is just his football mind. Amen. And so he is probably one of the best teachers of football that I've ever been around. Even like today, I'll sit and watch games, and I'll say, oh, this is going to happen, yada, 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 and it happens. But that's because of Coach Browning. There you go. Because he taught me different techniques, he taught me coverages, all that. So when I see players who don't understand coverages, it's because they probably ain't had good coaching. Exactly. And so that was one of the things I always felt like separated Coach Browning from anybody else. And then I'll tell you this one story. I think it was my freshman year. And I think I got in against Garner. And Garner, I don't know if you guys remember, but Garner had a dynamite tailback by the name of James Payne. And if y'all don't remember James Payne, y'all ain't watch. But James was nice. But Coach Browning said he's going to he carries the ball on his inside hand on sweeps. Yep. And he ran a sweep. The ball was on the inside hand. We stripped it, fumbled, game over. And that's because you pay attention to the details. Right. So thank you, Coach Browning, for that, because I think you helped me start to understand just how important the details in life are, in games and all that. So thank you for that. So there's one person I do want to see stand up. He stood up with my family, so I'm glad he did that. But I also want to make sure that I give him his flowers individually as well. So Sherrod, if you could stand up. So let me tell you about Sherrod. So Sherrod is one half of the twins. Sherrod has a brother named Sharon. When we was in school, even now, everybody, you was a piece that played, you and your brothers? Yes, technically we cousins, but we probably grew up more like brothers. So the reason why I want Sherrod to stand up and make sure I acknowledge him is because in middle school and through high school, and we played together in college, that's where a lot of the competition formed for me. So I would go over their house. We'd be playing PlayStation all day long, Sega Genesis, whatever. But it was always football, always competing. And so everything that they did was like a competition for me. Now, the one thing I couldn't compete with them on is weightlifting. They can have that. right? I did it because it was a necessity. They did it because they loved it. Two different things. So, but they had a motor and a desire to always be great and do well and was always competitive that it kind of just spilled over into me. And so I don't forget that. I appreciate that, and I love you for that. The next part will be brief. I promise you it will. So I guess a couple of things. It's really, I guess, two lessons I've learned in playing football and just playing athletics. And I think the main thing that resonates with me is that it's this old saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with people, right? And so I've been a part of some really great teams, and I've been a part of some really sucky teams. The great teams are accountable to each other, they support one another, and they pull together. The sucky teams, which I've been a part of, and I hate to say, I might have even been part of the problem, is when you start to be self-centered and you start to be selfish and you start to think about the me and the not we. And so I guess the thing that I want to encourage you guys to do tonight as I wrap up is continue to think about the we. Like Northern's football tradition has always been built on the back of the folks who came before them. So when I came up, it was the Trey Gilmores, it was the Donnie Allens, it was the Wayne Brown Jr.'s, it was the Dwayne Washingtons, it was the Carl Reeves, it was all of those guys that kind of set the way and set the tone for what we wanted to aspire to be. And some of that is getting lost. And I think there's a lot of it is getting lost because people are very individualistic these days. And I say that as kids, but the kids get it from the home and from the community. And if we don't do a better job of like wrapping our arms around these kids in the communities and supporting them in their homes, whether they come from broken homes or not, if we don't do a better job supporting them, then forget about the athletics. We're going to be in trouble. So what I would encourage you guys to do is start pulling together, right? Like start being a community again. Not through your action, not through your words, but through your actions. When we played ball, Friday nights were shut down. Everybody was at the county stadium. That was the community at the county stadium. And so what I would encourage and hope everybody does is to wrap their arms around Coach Green, that new AD here at Northern, and support her in helping her build out not just the football program, but all the programs. Because it's going to be better for the school, it's going to be better for the kids, and it's going to be better for the community. So I would just encourage everybody, just don't forget that, because there's a lot of truth in coming together as opposed to pulling apart. And two people I do want to recognize that I didn't recognize before I sit down is I want to recognize my two nephews. They're sitting right there, Aaron and Ryan. And I want to recognize them because I do love them, one. But two, I just think it's a really cool opportunity. I'm thankful for them to be here and to be able to see me get inducted tonight because, that's just not a small thing. And I just want them to really realize just how real it is, and just whatever you guys want to accomplish, you can. And so I'm thankful that y'all are here. I'm glad that you're here, but I also wanted to make sure that I recognize them. So without further ado, I'm going to sit down and let this party go, because I think I lied to my wife, said I'm going to be 5 minutes, but I probably ran over. So thank you.
Jason.
Don't let me forget that.
Thank you, Jason. And I'm just going to piggyback in two ways on some comments he just made that really resonated with me, and I hope they resonated in this room. One is that the Hall of Fame committee needs nominations. So I challenge everyone in this room tonight, you all know someone who's worthy of being in the Northern High School Hall of Fame. Go to the Northern website and look at those forms. And if you can think of people, please nominate them, because we want this to go on forever and ever and ever, right? So please nominate people you know who are worthy and deserving, because there are plenty of more wonderful Northern graduates out there that deserve these honors and recognition as well. Second thing is, yes, I challenge everyone here, wrap your arms around the new Northern High School, the new AD. Sounds like we're getting a new football coach. Many of us in here are graduates, and it's important for us to support that school and support those programs. Because as Jason said, not only obviously the students will benefit from it, but guess what? We will too. I promise you we will as well. So thank you, Jason, for reminding me of those very important things. All right, we're going to take another little trip in time. Jason graduated in 1995. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to all of you Mr. Bill Smith, Mr. William P. Smith, who graduated in 1965. And before I even get into why he's being inducted tonight, and very, very glad that he is, it was very, very nice to meet you, sir, earlier because of this wonderful ceremony. I want to tell you just the kind of person he is, and I think it's the kind of all of the 6 that we've inducted tonight and their families. As we were talking about some of his accolades and some of his family, he immediately stopped talking about himself and said, hey, you know what? I saw that we're inducting Natashalyn, right, who graduated in 2000. And my niece played softball against her. And my niece said that she's one of the best softball players that she ever saw. And so I'm not trying to take away from you, but that resonated with me, how selfless he was being and how he recognized that he's being inducted in a class. Natashalyn will be the youngest. Mr. Smith will be the one with the most experience. And yet he knew about her. He knew about her career. He knew about her prowess and what a phenomenal athlete she was at Northern High School. And I just spoke volumes about you, and I think also is another good lesson for all of us. If you love Northern High School as much as I do, and I think a lot of people in this room do, continue to be knowledgeable about that history. So, Mr. Smith, that just spoke volumes for me about the kind of person you are. And y'all will meet Natashalyn here in just a few minutes. But Mr. Bill Smith, so from what I've heard, he was a phenomenal basketball player. And in fact, played up until you were in your 60s. So that's extremely impressive. As someone who's in his 60s, I don't play basketball anymore. But at Northern High School, he was all-conference both as an 11th and 12th grader. Team MVP both of those years. So he was the MVP in 64 and 65. Okay. I'm told you had a bit of an advantage, though, back then because you were a southpaw, a lefty. And that for the 60s, I'm also told by some of the people that you competed against, you were an exceptional dribbler, ball handler, great at passing and great at moving the ball around. That's debatable. That's debatable, he said, but that's what I've heard. Well, what's not debatable is that while he was at Northern High School, he held the record for the most points ever scored in a Northern High School basketball game, over 30 points. And he wanted to give credit quickly, and he will hopefully speak more about these, but he spoke to me about 4 people specifically who were teachers and coaches at that time. Jim Mr. Arp, Jim Armstrong, you've heard that name before, Perry Holland, and Ernie Martin. And he spoke so much about them in a way that made me think that he thought of them as family, that also I think right now is a great time for me to ask Mr. Smith, your family and your friends and your supporters tonight to please stand so we can all recognize and acknowledge them. And thank you for coming. So, as I've mentioned, he was an outstanding basketball player, but more than just that, apparently he was a great friend as well and a great leader throughout his career in school. One of his good friends told me tonight, and I'll let you point that person out if you would like to, that before, and I'll mention this in a few minutes, but before becoming an illustrious insurance executive that you actually were in law enforcement. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm sorry. From what I understand, it wasn't the FBI, it wasn't the DEA, it was the HSSP, the Holt School Safety Patrol. Is that true? Okay. And I also heard you went on that trip to Washington, D.C.
It was the greatest trip I ever took.
The greatest trip. I also went on that trip. Not in 1960. I didn't go on that trip. But I went on that same trip a few years later. That was a great trip. But I also heard from another friend that even though you were the best basketball player at Northern High School, and with that comes a certain amount of respect and prestige, that you were just a great friend. And that you wrote comments to your friends in the yearbooks upon that senior year that they still cherish and read to this day, that they find very inspiring and uplifting. I think that says a great deal about you, not just as a basketball player, but as a person. Again, that's what we have here in the Hall of Fame. So, post-Northern High School, though, Mr. Smith actually played at Campbell and was the team MVP and leading scorer and co-captain. So obviously an exceptional basketball player. Beyond Northern, went to Campbell as well. And I remember this as a young person. He worked the Campbell College basketball camp for 2 years. And back in the day, that was considered one of the best and maybe the largest basketball camp in the entire world. I mean, it was world renowned back in the 60s and 70s and 80s for sure. So after law enforcement, Mr. Smith was a highly successful, I hope I wasn't being disrespectful, but that was a great story. Mr. Smith was a highly successful member of the financial services and in insurance industry for over 50 years. So Clarence, you guys need to get together. He served as a unit manager, regional sales director, and eventually rose to the position of regional vice president. A chartered life underwriter and was named Underwriter of the Year for the Triangle Association of Life Underwriters in 1996. So, Jason, you were a freshman at Carolina then. Bill also volunteered extensively with his church, the Urban Ministries of Durham, and served for many, many years as a tutor for elementary school students right here in Durham Public Schools. So I think he heard your message, Jason, even before you gave it. Perhaps his most impressive achievement is that he and his family helped raise 9 children. Another phenomenal individual and human being whom we are inducting tonight into the class of 2024 Northern High School Hall of Fame, Mr. William P. Smith.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
That was a marvelous introduction. I wish I deserved it, but thank you so much, even though I wrote it. I'd like to thank Jeff Hill, who is chairman of the Hall of Fame committee, and the hard work that he does. And he's done that for many years and helped put on many events like this. I'd like to thank Rusty Herring, who's been a great friend of me all through elementary school, high school, for placing my name in nomination to the Hall of Fame. Rusty's always been a good friend of mine. And Rusty, I really appreciate you doing that for me. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Herring, were the greatest supporters for Northern High School sports ever. They were such great people. You're a credit to them. I'd like to thank my parents. Like Jason was talking about, them taking you everywhere when you didn't have your license. My parents did that too. They loved me unconditionally, and they always supported me in my endeavors, educationally and athletically. They were great people. I would have loved for them to live long enough to be here to see this and see what a credit it has been to them. I would also like to say thank you to Northern High School, the Durham County Public Schools, the Northern High School Booster Club, and Amy Green, the new athletic director, for their support and providing resources so we could have athletics at Northern High School. So young men like myself at that time, and young women at that time, and presently, have an arena to build character. I have several guests I'd like to recognize. The first one I would like to recognize is my sister, Rebecca Nevergall. Don't do that. She loves me unconditionally, and I love her the same. She's always been my rock. She's always been my greatest supporter. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. She was a great mate to her husband. She's a great mother to her children. I can't tell you how much I appreciate her unconditional love. Next, I'd like to introduce you to a young lady that I've been keeping company with for 4 or 5 months. Now, this lady is up here, and I'm down here. She's a super person. She does so much for our veterans in the Middle East. Her and her group put together care packages to send to them, the men and women over there that are serving our country. Those same men and women, after they serve their tours, that come back to the States and set up housing, she also has care packages set up for them to set up their homes, which is a great, great service. She works with the VA hospital extensively. She also is a daughter of the American Revolution, very active, going through the chairs, becoming president next year. She is a credit to our community, to our county, to our state, even nationally. She's a wonderful person, and I would like for you to spend some time getting to know her. My son, nephew, Jason Neighborgall, great athlete at Riverside, All-American baseball player, played at Georgia Tech, a wonderful person. I've never met anyone that's more wonderful than Jason. I have unconditional love for that man. He came all the way from Atlanta to spend time at this event in my honor, and I am so honored to have you here. I'd also like to recognize Alec and Teresa Price from Southern Pines. Alec was my college roommate, and if there was a Hall of Fame for college roommates, he would be in it. He put up with so much bullshit from me that I can't believe he's still my friend. Teresa's a great supporter of Alec, and they are just a wonderful couple. And Alec loves me unconditionally, and I love him the same. I really appreciate you being here. The next two people that I like to recognize is Bruce and Diane Chambers from Simpsonville, South Carolina. They drove about 5 hours to be here, go to the expenses of staying overnight. Wonderful couple, God-fearing. They are such a perfect pal for one another. They've been married 54 years. Wonderful parents. They are just super nice, love me unconditionally, and I appreciate that very much coming up. Next, I'd like to recognize Scott Coakley. Scott is one of my best friends. I think we met in elementary school, high school, went to Campbell together. Scott's writing a book about the Campbell College basketball school. He's on his 10th year, and he hasn't finished it yet. But he told me he thinks about it sometimes, and he will eventually finish it. He may pass away before that happens, and we might have to have a ghostwriter. But anyway, Scott came from Smithfield. That's a nice town, isn't it? Smithfield, Tennessee, 8.5 hours away. Going to the expense of staying overnight and all that other stuff. But Scott is just a wonderful person. He's always been my friend. You can't ask for anything other than a person like Scott Coakley. Another person I like to recognize that I met in high school and have been known him ever since is Harry Clark. Harry has this infectious personality. If you ever meet Harry, you walk away feeling so much better about yourself because he makes everybody feel good. Harry, I appreciate you being here today. People need to get to know Harry. He's the greatest guy. Finally, on this occasion of me being inducted into the Hall, it's not only my honor, but it belongs to another person. Yeah, it belongs to my sister, Rebecca. And I'd like to dedicate this plaque, this honor, to you.
He just said, "How'd I do?" I think he did pretty well. Great job.
Made me cry.
I've seen quite a few people crying tonight, and that's a beautiful thing. So, thank you all so much for your patience, and also just for your support and for being here tonight. Our final, but equally wonderful inductee for the Northern High School Hall of Fame class of 2024 is Miss, and soon-to-be Dr., Natashalyn Snipes. Let's go, yes, class of 2000. Now, I'm going to cut to the chase because I love coming to these every year because I keep having these new thoughts and ideas. For example, Jason needs to be in the North Carolina High School Hall of Fame, so we got to get to work on that. But I want Natashalyn's, and well, before her family stands up, I want her mother to stand up. Miss Carolyn Snipes, please. Please, Miss Snipes. Seriously. No, this, and I'm going to tell you why. And she's probably not the only one in this room, but she's Natashalyn's mother. Durham Public Schools, and I'm being sincere now, should have a Hall of Fame. Durham Public Schools should have a Hall of Fame. And if they did, Carolyn Snipes would be in the Durham Public Schools Hall of Fame. So congratulations to you, young lady. And now let's have the entire Snipes family stand, please. Thank you all for being here tonight. Natashalyn Snipes, class of 2000. Seems like just yesterday, doesn't it? Much like Coach Osborne, a standout at Northern High School in 4 sports, but I want you to, now, I know I talk a lot, but listen, please, if you don't mind. She was a standout in softball, volleyball, track and field, and basketball. Now, I'm not sure I've ever read this before, and I've been doing this for a few years now. Earned all conference and scholar athlete in all 4 sports while at Northern High School. I think that's the first time I've ever read that. All conference and scholar athlete in all 4 sports. This is also something that I don't read very often. She was the team MVP for softball and team co-MVP for basketball, 2 different sports. Voted twice as a junior or senior as the Northern High School most versatile, female athlete in the school. That was a no-brainer. I could have done that one. Qualified for states in track and field, which is very difficult to do in the 100 meters, 200 meters, 4x100 relay, and 4x200 relay. But wait, and this is near and dear to my heart, also played saxophone in the high school band, competed as a gymnast all the way up until she got to high school, and made honor roll all 4 years while she was in high school. We have 6 superstars tonight. And she wanted, and you, of course, may speak about whomever you would like and take as long as you would like, Dr. Snipes. But she wanted me to give a shout out to Susan Clements, Pam Adams, Susan Browning, as 3 of her favorite, most supportive teachers and coaches, and last but certainly not least, her softball coach, Boo Rigsby, Coach Rigsby, who's here tonight. After such an illustrious career at Northern High School, she attended UNC Chapel Hill, played softball all 4 years, was a 4-year letter person. I don't know exactly how to say that in 2024. It said letterman. Was the leader of the ACC championship team in 2001. Go Heels. And her senior year made the all-tournament team, the ACC all-tournament team, her senior year for softball. Again, I've said this a few times tonight, wow. I mean, wow. That's just a phenomenal career. But in my humble opinion, it just gets better. After she graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, much like a few other people, she returned to Northern and served as an exceptional children's teacher. She also coached JV basketball and softball at Northern, and she served on the staff of the 2006 women's basketball team that finished runner-up in the state championship. Now, I happen to be very fortunate. I live with a lady who used to be a librarian at Northern High School for about 25 years, my wife, Ruth Key, who's in the back, having to put up with this all night. Well, thank you. That is well-deserved. But fortunately for you and for me, Ms. Snipes' office was right off the media center. And so Ms. Key got to see Ms. Snipes interacting all the time with her students and her students' families, because she also served as a chair, right, of the EC department. And for those of you who are not in school, she worked with students with special needs, okay, exceptional children's programs. And my little bird, my boss, told me that without a doubt, she was always professional, kind, compassionate, smart, and made every family feel special and heard. And that is not easy to do. It wasn't easy. It's never been easy to do, but it's certainly not easy to do during this day and time. She has 2 master's degrees, is currently working on her doctorate at UNC Chapel Hill, and is currently the director of exceptional children's programs for Vance County Public Schools. Again, a phenomenal leader, phenomenal human being, and a phenomenal athlete, Ms. Natashalyn Snipes, class of 2024 Northern High School Hall of Fame. Please come forward.
Thank you. Well, I guess I don't have to say much because a lot of the things have already been said by my fellow inductees, but I would like to first thank my family who are here with me. You have already met my mom, unfortunately. She always precedes me wherever I go, so she's always the one. She's worked the rooms, you probably have already met her. Anytime we're in public, she's always talking and engaged with someone because they are either a student or someone she has taught, so it's always been difficult being in the shadow, so this is a great time for me to be in the spotlight. So I really appreciate that. But I have my mom, my dad who are here, my aunt and my uncle John Henderson, my sister Edwina, my friend David Drain, and then my daughter who is somewhat following in my footsteps, Natashalyn. And then I have the Honorable Sharon Davis, who is who is also my cousin here with me today. So I appreciate them for being here and putting up with me for all this time during these last few years and everything in which I have done. So for me, I have started back in Henderson. That was a long time ago as well. Started in Henderson as a little girl coming up and playing sports. First started at gymnastics, and we used to drive, which we're talking about, Jason talking about parents bringing you back and forth. We used to drive back and forth from Henderson to Durham pretty much 3 to 4 nights a week. And then I had my aunt here who would try to pick me up, and we would meet in the middle somewhere in Creedmoor, somewhere to try to meet back up to get back home. So those were always early mornings and late nights. And that didn't change from the beginning to end and to where I am today. It's always early mornings and late nights, because now I have a daughter who is also playing sports at Southern, unfortunately. But we're not going to hold that against her because, I just happen to live in that area, unfortunately. We're not going to give those Spartans too much trouble today. But it has been a journey, and it's always a journey in the struggle, because there is something that happens from the beginning to the end. And I just remember when I was a little girl hearing stories specifically of my parents whom actually attended schools when it was still segregated. And so that challenge, and then having my mom actually be volunteered in the 60s to integrate a school in Rowan County of West Rowan High School. Her and 9 of her classmates were able to integrate a school at that particular time. Just knowing and understanding that journey and what it took to be a part of something greater. And so you never know who and what you are doing and how that is impacting others. Like I had my fellow inductees say that their niece said I was a phenomenal softball player. I'm like, who is that? Who is he talking about? Then I heard neighbor gall, and I was like, oh, now I know. You never know how everything is connected. We're all connected some way, somehow. We just don't know when or where that connection comes in. So we have to ensure that we continue to be connected, continue to be great, continue to step into places where you have never been before, step into situations that you have never seen before, and continue to do what is best. Like my brother here said, you got to do what's right. You always have to be what's right and do what's just. And if you're fair in whatever it is that you decide to do, then you will be great as what it is that you are doing. So I do want to appreciate, and I know I stand here since I am the baby of the group. I've always been the baby everywhere I go. So I've been the baby everywhere, been in spaces and a lot of places where I am often the youngest one in the room. But again, when you walk into a room, you never know what commands you and what energy you bring to the room. So I know when I step on the court, when I step on the field, I'm bringing that. Even in the boardroom now, I'm bringing it. And Boo can attest to you, Northern wasn't the best at softball or basketball for that matter, or volleyball, before I came to the school. And even the track team wasn't all that good, because guess what? I was playing softball at the same time as track season. So just imagine now, I'm on the softball field playing softball, and they're mad at me on the track field because I can't come because I have a softball game. No, I play softball. This is just volunteering for me to play track. So I come to track when I don't have softball. That was the agreement. There's no confusion. Even if it's softball practice, I got to go to softball. I don't do track. I just come out here and help y'all when I can. And so with that, you always know you have to bring that energy with you. You have to bring all of those things and that determination, that grit with you with whatever you go. And so before I close, like I said, I will stand before you as the last and baby of the group. And I know I speak for all of the inductees that are here tonight that are being inducted in 2024 and the 15 other classes that have come before us, that we are proud and humbled for all of those who have made this happen for us. We never know what our work has done for us, and we always are going to let our work do what it is that we are doing for others. So before I close, I just want to leave one thing, and I charge every single one of you in this room to be OCD. So let me tell you what OCD is. Be open to correction and feedback. Be open to correction and feedback because you're going to need those things in life. Every one of us had to be open to some correction and feedback. We may not wanted to hear it. It may have been in a manner in which we didn't want to hear it. It may not have made us feel good, but we have to be open to correction and feedback. So that's the O. Then we have to be committed. Committed to whatever it is that you have decided to do. Once you make a decision, you have to commit to it. Even if it's a bad decision, you better go ahead. Jason, you had one. You got a whooping for it. But you committed to it. You did commit. And once you commit, you have to accept the consequences of whatever that is. Whether it is a whooping or whether it is an accolade, you got to commit to it. And then the last thing you need to have is discipline. That's the D. You have to be disciplined in whatever it is that you need to do. And discipline comes in various different forms. Discipline in how you react to the negativity that may be before you. How you react to the positivity that it is before you. You have to be disciplined in all the things that you are doing. Everything that you do in life calls and you need to use discipline. So I charge each and every one of you as you continue to lead and grow this community, lead and grow those that are currently in at Northern High School, the new Northern, and I'm getting ready to have a 25-year reunion, so I need a tour. That's just a shameless plug. But just to make sure that we are being OCD. Open, committed, and disciplined. So I leave that with you. I am glad to be here. I thank Mr. Key. I thank Ms. Browning for the lovely recommendation. I thank Mama Browning. She's been a staple at Northern High School as well for quite some time. So I really, really appreciate her and all of the math department because if you know, I was in the math department. So I thank all of the math department and those ladies that were up there until the men started coming in the room. But until those ladies were up there, I really appreciate the math department. And I thank again Mr. Key for being the MC and being the inspiration of everything that you have shared and really taking the time to get to know each and every one of us through that personal touch. Really appreciate that as well. But again, I leave with you, be OCD. Open, committed, and disciplined. Thank you.
Okay, before we close, and first of all, one more time, how about that, OCD? I encourage, especially our 6 inductees, Craig Herndon, Clarence Lyon, Rene Osborne, Jason Peace, William P. Smith, and Natashalyn Snipes. Give them a round of applause. I encourage you and your family members, if you feel so moved, share email addresses, share some phone numbers. You are part of a special fraternity/sorority. You are the class of 2024 Hall of Fame. Continue to do things together, like Jason Peace said. Pull together. Also, others here tonight who may not be part of this class, which is most of us, share your email addresses, right? Share your email, share phone numbers, stay in touch. very touching, Mr. Smith, the way that you shared your thanks and gratitude for people who came here tonight. But I hope you're all impressed with our 6 inductees and their stories as much as I have been tonight. It's always the best night of the year. I encourage you all to come back. And again, I encourage you to stay connected. And last but certainly not least, support Amy Green, support the new Northern High School, support the Booster Club, and support this community. Okay? Please do that. I think, and I already said it once, but let me say it again. We need our 6 inductees, so please meet with L.A. Howard. Please wave. The lady behind this wonderful event tonight, so let's give her another round of applause. If you will take your plaque and meet with Miss Howard, we're going to get pictures. I'll bring the boxes out and hand those out to you. And again, to all of our family, friends, supporters, and especially our inductees, congratulations and thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.